Welcome to the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show.
Cup of Joe Wrestling Show?
With Joey Harris. A podcast for the wrestling fan on the go. So take your favorite beverage of choice and join Joey as he takes a look at some of the biggest shows on the WWE Network.
Welcome everyone to the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show. I am your host, Joey Harris. This is the podcast for the wrestling fan on the go, folks. We started out this week. It has been a rough one with both Shad Gaspard and Hana Kimura passing away. Just both tragic circumstances around their passings, and our thoughts and prayers and remembrances are with them and their families during this just horrible time in their lives. Our thoughts and prayers are just with them. Folks, did you have a good week? I had an okay week. It's been okay. It was not great. Wasn't bad. It was just an okay week. Just struggling to make it through. I know more and more states are opening up their quote-unquote regular business norms, hours, whatever you want to call it, loosening the restrictions placed on businesses. And I don't know, I think we're just in a very strange place trying to balance opening things back up and what this would do if we continue on this way to the economy versus making sure that we're doing it the safe way to avoid new infections and new deaths. And my heart goes out to all those people on the front lines and the decision makers. It is a difficult place to be, and I don't wish those types of decisions and those types of hard choices that have to be made on anyone. But for me, I've said it before, when everything is kind of up in the air about my life and doubtful and I don't know where it's going to go, I always go back to the wrestling. The wrestling is what keeps me centered and grounded and keeps me going. So that's what we're going to do. Today we look at the Saturday night's main event from January 1989 from the WWF. This is Saturday night's main event number 19. It was broadcast on NBC on January the 7th, 1989. It was taped December 7th, 1988 from the USF Sundome in Tampa, Florida. The Ultimate Warrior says victory will be his and the Honky Tonk Man will have ultimate defeat. Honky Tonk Man and Jimmy Hart say tonight, Honky Tonk Man gets his belt back because he is the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time. Brutus Beefcake has challenged Ron Bass to a hair versus hair match. Slick and Akeem says they are here to rid wrestling of Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan says that Akeem is going down and the 24-inch pythons will point the way. We then go to our opening credits. Vince McMahon and Jesse Ventura welcome us to Tampa and run down that night's card. Mean Gene Okerlund interviews Ron Bass. He says he is ready for Brutus Beefcake. He's got his spurs, Bart and Brett, and his whip, Miss Betsy. We flash back to the attack on Brutus Beefcake. Mean Gene then interviews Brutus Beefcake, who says tonight's not about revenge, it's about hair. Beefcake here is about to embark on his greatest year in professional wrestling. He's going to have the high-profile matches, some main events, and probably make the most money that he's ever made. Brutus Beefcake versus Ron Bass, hair versus hair match. Bass attacks early, but Beefcake gets Miss Betsy. He won't let Bass get into the ring. They finally get it on. Beefcake dominating early. Bass reverses an atomic drop. Bass concentrating on Beefcake's midsection. Bass now dominating. Bass hits a pile driver. Bass stops the ref count to punish Beefcake some more. He does and then gets a close 2 count. Beefcake gets the sleeper on. Bass is knocked out. Beefcake cuts Bass's hair bald. That is a tongue twister and a half. The fans chant "Baldy" at Bass. Mean Gene then interviews Slick, Akeem, and the Big Boss Man. Slick says he has made it his mission to rid the WWF of Hulk Hogan. Hogan is a rule breaker and Boss Man is there to maintain law and order. Mean Gene interviews Hulk Hogan and Miss Elizabeth. With Liz on his side, Lady Luck is at his back, and Randy Savage is also there to watch his back. Liz and Hogan then go to ringside. Savage and Mean Gene go to a special place to watch, and this room is creepy. It's lit very strangely, and they're just staring at a TV. Hulk Hogan with Miss Elizabeth versus Akeem with Slick and the Big Boss Man. Hogan slams Slick onto Akeem before we get started. Hogan cleaning house on all the heels to begin. Back and forth. Akeem takes over. Hogan trying to come back. Akeem knocked down. The Big Boss Man is up on the apron. Akeem slammed onto him. Hogan dominating. Akeem pulls the referee into Hogan as he goes to the corner. The Big Boss Man comes in and starts attacking Hogan. Savage tells Mean Gene that Hogan will be okay. Double teaming on Hogan. Liz runs to the back. She is looking for Savage. He keeps saying Hogan is going to be okay. Liz goes back to ringside. Hogan coming back. He slams Slick into the Big Boss Man. Slams Akeem. The Big Boss Man hits Hogan with the nightstick for the disqualification. The referee gets thrown out. They brutalize Hogan. Liz comes in and they set their sights on her. They handcuff her. Savage comes in and cleans house with a chair. Jesse brings up the point that Savage didn't come down until Liz was in trouble. Savage is upset at Liz because she is concerned about Hogan. Jesse smells a rat in the Mega Powers. Mean Gene interviews the Honky Tonk Man and Jimmy Hart. They say that the Ultimate Warrior stole the belt at SummerSlam and that the Honky Tonk Man is the greatest IC champion of all time. They then head to the ring. Mean Gene interviews the Ultimate Warrior. He says that victory was his once, and it will be again. WWF Intercontinental Championship match. The Ultimate Warrior versus the Honky Tonk Man with Jimmy Hart. Warrior does his usual pre-match shtick. Honky is still outside, and Warrior comes out and carries Honky Tonk Man back in the ring over his head. Honky Tonk Man selling hard. Warrior is stiff. Warrior misses a splash. Honky Tonk Man hits Warrior with the megaphone. Back and forth. Warrior gets a scoop slam. Honky Tonk Man gets his knees up as the Warrior splashes him. Honky Tonk Man then gets the 2 count. Warrior hits the shoulder block for the 3 count. Mean Gene interviews Slick, the Big Boss Man, and Akeem. They are ecstatic about what happened and wonder just how close are the Mega Powers. Jesse Ventura interviews Bobby Heenan and the Red Rooster. They talk about how Heenan has taken this nothing of a wrestler and made him something. Check out Terry Taylor's facial expressions here. The Red Rooster with Bobby Heenan versus Tito Santana. Heenan is wired for sound for this match. George Steinbrenner is at ringside watching. Heenan putting down Rooster. Back and forth. Rooster with the advantage. Santana comes back. Rooster blocks a figure 4 attempt. Heenan berates Rooster and slaps him. Rooster pushes back. Back in, Santana drops his head and Rooster attacks him. Gets a 2 count. Santana gets a 2 count from a small package. Rooster hits a pile driver and gets a 2 count. Hits a hot shot on Santana, but doesn't pin him. Santana clotheslines Rooster outside and Heenan berates him again. Pushes him back in where Santana rolls him up for the pin. Heenan continues to berate Rooster, then backs off when Rooster gets angry. He then beats Heenan up. Mean Gene interviews Mr. Perfect. He now has the perfect new move, the Perfect Plex. Mr. Perfect versus Coco Beware with Frankie. No singlet yet for Perfect, but his character is developing. Coco comes out hot. Perfect bumps hard. Perfect comes back. Standing dropkick. Coco comes on strong but misses a corner charge. Perfect hits the perfect plex for the win. Mean Gene interviews the Mega Powers about the friction between them. They insist everything is okay between them. Jesse insists it's a cover-up. They then sign off from Tampa. Folks, if you like the show, please leave a review on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, or your podcast platform of choice. There are a number of ways that you can contact me. You can follow the show on Twitter at cupofjoepod. You can email the show at cupofjoewrestlingshow@gmail.com. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I am at The Joey Harris. Thank you for joining me this week. This is Joey Harris saying so long from stately Maine Manor.
The Cup of Joe Wrestling Show is a production of Baby Kangaroo Media.